Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I wanted to talk about the new movie, Never Let Go. If you end up enjoying this video, please consider liking and subscribing. That way I don't have to be bound by rope my entire life. The synopsis is as follows. When an unstoppable evil takes over the world, the only protection for a mother and her twin sons is their house and strong bond. Needing to stay connected at all times, even tethering themselves with ropes, they must cling to one another and never let go. So without further ado, let's get into the 6 things that make a movie great. 1. The plot. So this mother and her sons live in this house in the middle of nowhere. Very quickly you see that they have some ritualistic things that they do, and that they are under the belief that everything around them is a wasteland of monsters and evil. And they've grown up with the belief that the only way that they can leave their home is if they have a rope tied around them that's tethered to the house as they go. And if they ever happen to go off of the rope, then the evil is able to get to them. So they treat this house as an ancient safe haven that they have to stay tethered to in one way or the other. After a while, the mom's son, Nolan, starts to question whether the evil is really real or if it's just a figment of imagination from their mom. This causes some drama and tension between them, and things start to escalate between the mom and her sons. Look, I have to give this movie points for originality because it's been a while since we've seen an original story, so I liked that element of it. However, putting it blatantly, 3/4 of this movie is extremely boring. Like, there are some elements within the plot that keep you mildly engaged here and there, but the first 3/4 of this movie was an absolute snooze fest. That being said, it's anyone's guess what's actually going on because the movie ends in a rather ambiguous way, and the most likely theory that I can muster has a giant plot hole in it. So you kind of end the movie with more questions than answers, which was a bit of a letdown. So for me, plot gets 50-50. 2 is family friendliness. Never Let Go is rated R. There's a very mild bit of profanity, including 1 F-bomb, and that's pretty much it. The only reason why this movie is rated R is because some of the things that you see that you're not sure if they're real or not are graphically violent. And there's only a handful of them sprinkled throughout the movie, but to push this movie to an R rating with those and limit your demographic was an interesting decision. I have for sure seen worse PG-13 movies out there. For me, family friendliness gets a thumbs down. 3 is acting and script. The cast of this movie is small. Halle Berry is not in this movie for very long, so most of the performance lands on the backs of Anthony Jenkins and Percy Daggs, and their acting was actually pretty decent. But the pacing issues in the plot and the way that the story unfolded I don't think benefited their performances all that much. The script of this movie was okay, but there comes multiple points in the films where it's like, okay, you have this ideology, you feel like you would share everything with your kids, but the mom doesn't because plot. So some stupid decision making kind of plagues the script of this movie, and whenever that happens, it just kind of devalues the plot as a whole. So for me, acting and script get a 50-50. 4 is character development. You don't see much character development in this movie, and you rarely do in horror movies in general. You get to see character progression, especially with Nolan as he starts questioning if this evil is even real, but there's no depth to any of these characters. There is a backstory with the kid's mom that is very ambiguous, and we're not sure what it is, especially even at the end of the film. So if that had been more clearly explained, I'm not sure that there would have been more character depth, but definitely more understanding in the plot. But as it was, there was not really anything here. So for me, character development gets a thumbs down. 5 is visuals and CGI. First and foremost, there are probably 4 or 5 jump scares in this movie, including like 3 right at the beginning, and you just get annoyed right off the bat. There are a couple moments, especially in the final fourth of this movie, that are actually pretty creepy in their own way. And if this movie had leaned more into that, I think this movie would have been better, but not great. Because just like there are some better moments in the final quarter of the movie, there's also some pretty tacky CGI and cheesy visuals. That being said, the cosmetics that they used to kind of create some of the more grotesque moments in this film actually looked pretty good, but it seemed like every time there was a win for this movie, there was also a loss. So for me, visuals and CGI get a 50-50. And 6 is rewatchability. Never Let Go is an hour and 42 minutes long, but because of the pacing issues of the first 3/4 of this film, it feels extremely long. It just seemed like what they were building up to in the first 3/4 of the movie was so anticlimactic that by the time you got to the payoff and how ambiguous it just wasn't very satisfying. I like that it felt original, and I think that there was something here that could have been great, but they just couldn't deliver. So for me, rewatchability gets a thumbs down. With all these areas considered, I have to give Never Let Go a 4 out of 10. This movie had an interesting concept, a couple decent acting performances, and a couple effective creepy moments. But it was plagued by pacing issues, a few moments of bad CGI, some weak storytelling, and a very ambiguous finish and antagonist with a giant plot hole looming over it. So with all that in mind, I think it's okay to let go. I don't think Never Let Go is worth spending your money and going to see in theaters. Thank you so much for watching. If you've seen Never Let Go, please let me know what you thought about it in the comments below. As always, I appreciate your love and support, and I'll catch you guys and gals in the next one.